Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Thriving Together. I am excited to have my cousin with me this evening. Say hey to everybody, Jess.
Hello, everyone.
And you have a birthday coming up,
I do. March 18th.
March
My,
18th.
my family knows March 18th.
March 18th. If there is any birthday that I remember in our family, it has always been yours. So, y'all jump in the comments and say happy early birthday to my cousins. But I'm excited to have you on here, Chesney, because we are going to be talking about HOAs.
Yeah.
And for some buyers and stuff, it's like they cringe or they think it's a dirty word almost.
Mhm.
But I'm like, let's just have a conversation about HOA so you really understand their role and their value, things of that nature.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been in the world of property management?
I have been in the industry since 2013, 2012, 2013. I started in the industry. I just needed a job. I actually was hired for a management company being the legal accounts coordinator. So when the temp agency called me and said, hey, we have a position for a legal accounts coordinator, I was like, ooh, fancy. What is that? Went in for the interview and it was a glorified collections agent. So I started in the industry doing the collections for HOAs as far as lien filings, foreclosure filings, and working directly with the attorney. And when I started in the industry, it was a very small office. So we were basically packed in there on top of each other. And I heard conversations that other property managers were having and the tasks they had to complete. And I took an interest in it. So I started shadowing one of the property managers. I'm like, can you tell me a little more about that? And so throughout the years, I was promoted. I was hired permanently first. And then I was promoted to an assistant property manager where I assisted an actual property manager with the day-to-day task and communicating with homeowners. I was then promoted to a community manager where I had my own portfolio. I was very fortunate to take on the portfolio that I was the assistant for. So it was a smooth transition. I knew the HOAs. Actually, one of the HOAs I still work with to this day. And then I was promoted to a director of community association managers, which is I have my own portfolio and I also manage a team of property managers as well. So, I took a weird liking into HOA property management. It can be a lot sometimes, but no day is the same. And so I meet amazing people. I'm able to be out in the field and kind of have fun with that too. So it's very rewarding.
Because you've been in it for a while. So again, a number of people, when they think about getting into the real estate industry, the first thing they think about is becoming a real estate agent.
Right.
But there's so many different facets of the industry for you to get into, and you just happened upon, community management for HOAs. So you said no day is the same, and it could be a lot. What has kept you in it so long? What really gets you excited about it?
I can't answer that question, but I can't. It's no straightforward answer, but it's more good days than bad days. And I meet some amazing people, whether it's a homeowner, whether it's a board of directors. A lot of times I'm out in the field, doing property inspections, meeting with vendors. It's a lot of perks to the industry too. When you get in good with the vendor, they may drop in some cookies or some random flowers or invite you out to lunch. I had a great lunch at 131 Main yesterday with the landscaping vendor. It was a just because lunch. Food was amazing. So it's a lot of perks to the industry, but it's rewarding because buying a home, whether it's a single family home, townhome, condo, that is someone's investment. And they take pride in, what they've accomplished with their purchase, and they want to keep it that way. So it is very rewarding to see how much joy people get out of owning a home and the upkeep of their home. So,
So there's a couple ways that an HOA can function. You've got it private to where it's just the residents that serve on the board and they manage all things.
Correct.
And I guess you, there's an instance to where you are the board and you also work with a board. Is that also how it can happen?
So with that, developer communities. So when you see the signs out in front of, the dirt that says coming soon, those are developer communities that are developing. So in that stage until it's completed, it's called developer stage, and I will work directly with that developer. And then once the development is completed, it will turn over to homeowner control. And that's when I start working with the homeowner ran board. And the board of directors are residents that's in the association. There are some communities, they choose to self-manage. So they don't have a property management company at all. The other ones where they do have a property management company, that's where I come in. The property management company, we don't make any decisions. We are there to make sure that they are doing their fiduciary duty, making sure they're not self-serving, following the state statutes and legal guidelines, as well as their CCRs of the association. We also, as a property manager, we also manage commercial properties. Commercial properties are set up a bit different. I have a commercial property where there are condos, there are commercial spaces as well. So with that, there's a board of directors. That board of directors is there. They have about 4 condo owners on the board, as well as the owners of the actual commercial property. So it's a little bit different. It's a lot entangled in that, but again, they rely on me for my expertise, so to say. I have to remind these board members, I'm not an attorney. I can say this is my opinion, but I am not an attorney. A lot of times they want me to make the decision for them. I can't do that. I need you to say it. I need you to put it in the meeting minutes that this is the decision that you make. I can nudge you a little bit, but I don't make decisions. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I can give you my professional opinion and why it makes sense, but I can't make the ultimate decision.
I cannot make the decision. And that's where it's a lot of misunderstandings with property management, being the property manager. And I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten where, oh, you made this decision, or you're wrong about this. No. Your board of directors made this decision. Your legal documents say. And so it comes with a lot of education as well. A lot of people get on the board to self-serve. I remember a homeowner got on the board where she wanted to put in basically an amusement park in their common area. And I had to tell her the legalities around it. I had to tell her, your association only has $75,000. There's no money. And so it comes with a lot of education. We can sit on here for days and I can talk about the requests that people have made, but it just comes with a lot of education. And once I give them that education, they're like, oh, and they back off. So I do enjoy that as well. I sit and I listen and I empathize, and then I will set you straight. So
yeah. I kind of wish some years ago when I lived in the Mill Ridge community here in Fuquay Varina, I was chair or president of our HOA board. And when I tell you that is a job, I wish I had you to kind of back me up and say, can you remind them of what the covenants say? Can you remind them of the legalities of this?
Right.
Because I had to argue a woman down about having chickens in her backyard, and she could not understand.
I remember that. Chickens.
I think you know what? About the
you did. But you know what, Rhonda? That's still a thing. That is still a thing where I get calls and emails from homeowners. Hey, there's chickens in the backyards. There's goats in the backyard. It has been so many things, and some of the CCRs, they allow it. And it's nothing that we can do. And I'm like, hey, call animal control. I don't know what to do. But then other CCRs are specific to say you can't raise livestock in your backyard. So it depends association to association. So
now they may be saying, I'll let you have those chickens if you give me some of those eggs.
Right. I just bought eggs yesterday and it made me mad.
Oh, boy. I was in there. I was in Food Line, and a dozen was $7.49. So yeah, some of them. You said CCR. What's the CCR stand for?
Covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
Gotcha. So some of them may be in allowing them, so they don't have to pay that $7.49 for a dozen of eggs.
Right. And also with the CCRs, a lot of times you'll hear them referred to as the declarations or just the covenants. It is the same thing. One of the things as well, a lot of individuals don't realize in the state of North Carolina, the CCRs are different than the bylaws. And a lot of people say, hey, in the bylaws, no, it's in the CCRs. And so the bylaws more, it outlines like your board of directors, your meeting requirements, and just kind of the legal requirements of the association. And then your CCRs basically say who's responsible for what, talking about assessments. And it can, some CCRs can be hundreds of pages. Older CCRs, probably 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe 10 pages long and very vague.
And so hard to read.
I honestly, CCRs are the word. I hate CCRs because you have to look in the definitions and then go to the article, and just a lot of times it can get really wordy. And I'm just like, hey, I just need to know if metal fences are allowed. So it can get really wordy. So that's one of my least favorite parts of the job. And I will tell a board quickly, hey, get a legal opinion.
Yeah.
Let's contact the attorney.
That's what they do. That's what they do. Well, they have a person that combs through all the legalese and gives you the answers and stuff that you need. So yeah.
And even I've been through it. Sometimes an attorney will say, look, I don't know. I've developed relationships over the years with a lot of attorneys. And we just have that relationship. And a lot of them will say, hey, I don't know. These CCRs are just so all over the place, but I'm going to give you my legal opinion, and you can roll with it. So, yeah,
there's that. Well, let me ask you a question. Having a full understanding of your role of an HOA and job that you have, if you were buying a home, would you prefer an HOA or no HOA?
Personally, no HOA. And I say that because the only reason why I say no HOA is because of special assessments. So in some CCRs, an HOA can put a special assessment in place and it has no dollar amount limit. I've seen communities put in a $10,000 special assessment and
no definition of what it's for or cap.
So yes, they do have to give, they do have to outline what the what the special assessment is for, give you a breakdown of where this money is going. However, some CCRs, it doesn't have a cap. Some CCRs say that the board can put in, enact a special assessment up to $500. Some of them say you can do it once per year. You can do it however often you want to. So it varies. I always recommend if a person is moving into, if they're interested in a home, moving into an HOA, ask for a copy of the CCRs and comb through those CCRs. And a lot of times, just because you're in a single family community, does not mean that they will not enforce a special assessment. That is the only drawback for me as far as the special assessment, because I've seen so many. Special assessments are common in condos because the condos, you're responsible for the roof, you're responsible for the exterior. And so if there is an HOA that's not financially stable, they'll throw a special assessment at you. Last year, I did one, $6,000. Due on December 20th. They gave these homeowners 1 month to pay that special assessment with the due date of December 20th. And then if you didn't pay by December 20th, a lien would be filed on your property.
Ouch, really?
Yes. And that's how easy it can be. And these homeowners like, I'm on a fixed income, or why would you do this right around Christmas? But they needed the money. I tried to advise the board against it. They were just like, hey, we don't care. We need this money.
Need the money.
Yeah.
And I've come across some HOAs that need the money to where um, they haven't raised their HOA dues in years. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they've just been, using money out of the budget, never replenishing, not planning.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was working with one, it was a mixed use. It was single family and townhomes, and
Yeah.
they only had $5,000 in the operations budget. But they had huge potholes in the road, and they were private roads,
Yeah.
and the roads needed to be fixed. So
And make sure that you check the financial status of the HOA as well. Always request, hey, can you send me last month's financials, or just send me last month's balance sheet, just to see how much money they have. Because if you're moving into a townhome or a condo where the HOA is responsible for all of these things, and you only have $5,000, you don't want to live there. you don't want to live there, because it's gonna be a long list of deferred maintenance. I've managed associations where they had no money there, and it was a townhome. There was a hole in the roof, and they had no money, and they had somebody come in and tarp it, and it sat like that for months and months and months. And then you have to think mold, mildew. The homeowner ended up getting sick. And it was one of those things where you don't have the money. No one would give them a loan. They opted against the special assessment because they knew they weren't going to get the money, because their delinquency was over $100,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So those are the things that you want to check before moving into a HOA, especially a condo or a townhome.
So I hope everyone is really listening, that not only do you want to look at the covenants to see what type of fence you can put up, what type of structures you can put in your yard, are you providing me with tennis courts, blah, blah, blah. You want to make sure that they're not broke. And what's the rule of thumb when it comes to those assessments?
Correct. Absolutely correct. And it's funny you mentioned metal fence. I'm going through it with a homeowner now. So, and it's a single family community. And it was developed in the mid 80s. In the mid 80s, they loved wooden fences.
They did.
In the CCRs, it specifically states no metal fences.
Really?
She submitted an architectural request. It was immediately denied because the CCR specifically state metal fences are strictly prohibited. She appealed the denial, came to a meeting, beautiful presentation. Everyone agreed with her, but the CCR said no metal fences. And so she's livid now. She's seeking, legal counsel, but it just specifically states no metal fences. So those are the small things you have to think about, what you want in your home. If you want to put an outbuilding, behind your home, look at that. Look at what type of fences you can have. Just make sure that you look at those small things, when it comes to your home and what you possibly want to do in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And even look and see, conversations that I've had with some of my buyers is finding out if there's a cap when it comes to investors and renters in, because if you're an investor, you want to know, what are the parameters when it comes to owning a rental property. But then also, if you are a homeowner, it impacts values when there's no cap and you're allowed to have a lot of renters. So there's a lot of things. So when we send you the covenants, the CCR, when we send you that information, you need to comb through it. Because I know what I would look for as a homeowner, and what when it comes to what I would want for my home, but I can't answer that question, all of those questions.
Right. And I mean, it's a lot of information, but it will benefit you in the long run, because I've seen everything, and it's unfortunate because you buy your first home, and these are things that you want, but you can't have them. A lot of homeowners as well look at the assessments and how the assessments are collected. You don't get a discount on your assessments for paying early. Look at how the maximum increase that they can put on the annual assessment. Some CCR specifically state that they can increase any more than the CPIU, or some says every year it can be increased 10%. Some of them don't have a cap. So those are little things you have to think about, because and I get it all the time with these associations and these long-term owners. They were like, when I first moved in here, the dues were only $200 a year. Now it's up to $800 a year. Guys, it's called inflation. And just think about what the association is responsible for. Do they have a pool? Do they have tennis courts? All of these things. Yeah, it's a bright, shiny, great community, but you have to pay for those amenities as well.
You do. You absolutely do.
Yeah. And just because you don't use the pool doesn't mean you can't pay your assessments.
Right.
Yes. I get that all the time. Can I get a discount? I don't use the pool. No, you cannot.
No, because you knew the pool was in there when you moved in. So the pool is yours, whether you want to use it or not.
Correct.
Or we no longer use it because our kids are older and they've moved out. So,
and I hear that all the time. And they were like, I didn't even get my pool fob. I'm sorry, but the dues are uniform amongst all homeowners. If you pay $500, your neighbor pays $500. It's, it's assessed at a uniform rate.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say are some benefits to an HOA? Because of course I have some buyers. We have buyers that when they're looking, they'll tell me, I don't want an HOA, and they have their reasons, and that's fine. Everyone has a reason, but then there are some people that see value in it. So what would you say are benefits of an HOA?
The benefit is because it is structure, and most HOAs should enforce their covenants. And so if they are properly enforcing their covenants, it is less likely to see the abandoned house, the uncut grass, the broke down car in the front. Is you live in a nice, neat, clean community. Just because you see a home that's in violation does not mean that it's not being addressed. So you can't kick an owner out of their home. You can't evict a homeowner, but you can fine them. Most CCRs allow for homeowners to be fined. North Carolina state statute, you can fine a homeowner up to $100 per day. I have a home where the lady just abandoned the home. There are 5 outstanding violations. She's getting violated $100 per day per violation.
Oh, that's $500 a day.
$500 a day. And we mail her letters. We had the hearing, state of North Carolina. You have to have a hearing, come before the board to be heard. You can show up or not show up, but after that hearing, you can start finding them. I go by every month, take pictures of the home. We have filed a lien on the property, pursuing foreclosure. So just because you see a home out of compliance doesn't mean it's not being pursued. However, again, the HOA is not the police. The HOA can't evict a homeowner. An HOA can't even evict a tenant. However, we address the owner of the actual property.
Gotcha.
But most HOAs, they are very nice, neat, and clean, making sure that they are enforcing the covenants as well. And it just gives it structure. As far as an HOA, when it comes to townhomes and condos, it is very important because in that the HOA is responsible for exterior maintenance of things. So you want to have an HOA. So if you have a cracked sidewalk or if the siding is falling off, that is covered by the HOA and not by the actual owner of that one unit. So it's a lot of benefits to it. The 55 and older communities, those people love their little homes. The HOA is responsible for everything. They don't have to worry about landscaping. They just have to worry about the inside of their home. And in those 55 and up communities, they absolutely love it. They're like, I'm old, I'm retired. I don't want to deal with any of this. Let the HOA deal with that. So it's very, very beneficial for 55 and olders as well.
Shoot, I'm seeing now, not just 55 and older. I was visiting a Pulte community just here recently, and their HOA covers all of the landscaping and cable, and of course, the clubhouse, pools, and all of that. So it is fantastic for someone who wants their place, their home to continue to look good, hold value.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm interested in the maintenance.
Absolutely. And I mean, it sounds really good once you retire and everything else, and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So it is great for them. I've managed several 55 and older communities, and it just works really well. There's a board of directors, they ask for their updates, they make their decisions, and all is taken care of. So, like I said, it's a lot of benefits as well. And with these communities, a lot of them have these committees. They have the neighborhood watch, they have the art committee, they have the pool committee, they have the landscaping. It is so many committees that these communities can possibly have, and it's very beneficial as well because the board makes the decisions on everything, but you have these other people helping and being a liaison and communicating this information with the board as well.
And some like you said, they get really involved, and it's great when they do, and it's some people's talents and interests. So
absolutely.
Not all HOAs are the same. It is not a one size fits all. Some are
it's not. It's not. And we get a lot of homeowners that may have moved here from another state with CCR's bylaws, state statutes and all of that is different state to state. So a lot of times when people move from another state, they were like, well, in Florida, well, in Virginia, well, we're in North Carolina now. So we have to focus on North Carolina. Being on the board, it is a volunteer position. You don't get paid for that. Now, I've been through where a homeowner was embezzling. I knew she was embezzling. I minded my business. She would send me a request and it wasn't small sums of money, it was large sums of money, but all of it was recorded. And so when someone caught it, they went back through the financials and saw it, and things like that. So be careful of that as well. But being on the board, she was requesting like large sums of money. But again, I don't make the decisions. I can't say you can't have this money.
Right. But you have a feeling, but it's like, we're going to document all this. And
all of it was documented. Yeah. All of it was documented. Yeah. But, like you said, there's a lot of people in HOAs with different interests. A lot of people don't want to be the bad guy. So they're like, no, I don't want to be on the board, but I'll volunteer for one of these committees. And it helps your board of directors, especially when you're in a large community. I have a community, it's 967 homes. And I literally talked to
one in your portfolio.
Yes, that is just one in my portfolio. But I talk to the board president on a daily basis. He calls me and I'll say, hey, Mike, and he'll take a deep breath and he'll just lay it out there. He was like, I'm sorry for laying this on you. It's okay, Mike. And he'll just ramble and ramble and ramble. Yeah. And he says, I need help. In this community, he doesn't have a lot of help. He doesn't have all of these committees. So it is very beneficial. A lot of things are pushed to the side because they have to handle the more pressing matters. But if they had these committees, they can jump on these things that these homeowners continuously complain about.
Right. Yeah. But if they have help, residents get engaged, then maybe that person could have played a role in amending the CCR to bring it up to date.
Exactly. And just like the fence issue, we had the board meeting 2 weeks ago, and he said, hey, who wants to help? You heard crickets. You could hear a pin drop. And he was like, I can't do this by myself. And even, it was 3 other board members there, but time is limited. This is not their full-time job. This board president, he owns his own business. So he has a business to run and he's trying to manage his HOA. And he said many a times, I should just say, forget it and just let it go. But he says, okay, so who's going to pick it up?
Right.
And he said, no telling what's going to happen if I get off this board. So he wants to protect his investment and keep the community going, but volunteers are needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
don't complain if you don't have a solution.
There you go. Have a solution in mind through before you even bring the complaint. That's the way I prefer.
Correct.
It may not be the solution, but at least you tried.
Try.
At least you tried. So what would you say to homeowners in HOAs so that they it's more so of a team, that you act as if you're on the same team? How would you recommend they engage and work with the HOA and even work with the community managers?
Yeah. So, and with that, from one, know your neighbors as well. And I managed it was mainly a new home buyer community. It was a lot of young adults there. They didn't know what an HOA was. One of them called and said, "Hey, my microwave went out." And I had to pause for a minute, and I had to put the phone on mute. And I'm just like, baby, you own this home, baby. Like, I can't do anything about your microwave. So that was an educational piece. And so, and it's especially a new homeowner, a new buyer, they don't know what an HOA is.
Right.
So it does include education, but also get to know your neighbors. And knowing your neighbors, you can throw ideas out there. And so this community, these neighbors started getting to know each other. They came to me and they were like, "Hey, can we have a block party? Can the HOA sponsor a block party?" You absolutely can.
Yeah.
I can't prove it, but let's talk to your board of directors about it. And so by having this block party, it engaged more homeowners. Then they were able to form these committees and do things for the community. They developed the neighborhood watch and, doing things for the children in the community as well. Just being a friendly neighbor. In HOAs, trash cans are a big thing. Now, I can say as an HOA property manager, I feel like sometimes these board members are tripping about these trash cans, but I get it. Rules are rules. However, if you know your neighbor is on vacation for 2 weeks,
yeah,
get to know your neighbor. Your neighbor can come and say, "Hey, can you put my trash can out, pull it back in?" Something as simple as that. Just keeping an eye on your neighbor's property. A lot of people, they see things just walking their dogs. I have a lot of homeowners, they have their routes through the community every day, and they reach out to me and say, "Hey, Chesney, I saw this on my wall." And so that helps the community too. So even though I'm the property manager, I complete these inspections, I don't catch everything.
Right.
I also do with single family homes, I do the inspections for my car. So things look different from the car versus when you're walking on the sidewalk. Yeah. And not to say to be a tattletale and, send your property manager everything, but send those things that maybe they didn't see. We're not on property every single day. Yeah. You're there every single day. So when I ride through, I don't see that trailer parked at the property. But at night you do. So you can send that to me. Any information that you provide to your property manager should be confidential. So with me, if you email me a picture of, a trailer or something going on at your neighbor's property, I'm not going to say, "Hey, LaRonda Scott reported you." It has been noted, and things like that.
So you have a trailer.
Yeah. So, just get involved and, and I have homeowners, they'll just pick up the phone and call me. "Hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I work on site at a property every Monday. I have people drop into the clubhouse and just say, 'Hey, I just wanted to say hello.'"
Yeah.
And that helps.
That's the type of relationship you've built with your communities though. Yes. And I love that.
Yes. It's a gift and a curse now. So sure. With the property I work in on Mondays, there is a homeowner often stop in and they'll just ramble. Very sweet gentleman, but I'm like, can you just leave? But
Mondays, you are not getting any work done.
Correct. Yeah, and that's my job to be there. And this community, they said when they came over to the company I'm with now, they said, this is probably overkill, but we weren't getting those services from the previous management company. So just by knowing that someone is here, they know something is being done.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah. I have Miss Deborah. She pops her head in after she leaves her Pilates class, and she'll come in. "Have you eaten lunch? Go eat lunch." And she'll stop in and check on me and everything. I love Miss Deborah.
See, normally I put up contact information for people. So I was like, I cannot even share Chesney's contact information because once they hear what she has to say, you will be getting calls from HOAs that are not in your portfolio.
You're right.
So save you. I'm going to say.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I will say we are getting close to our time. Just anything that you want to share regarding HOAs and home ownership before we call it a quit this evening.
Right. Don't shy away from an HOA. It's not, and HOAs have a bad reputation with things. Some are really good, some are really bad. But do your research first, and you want an HOA where there's a lot of community involvement. Because when there's not, most of the time the board is shorthanded, for lack of better words, and a lot of things may go unnoticed. If you don't want to serve on your board of directors, join a committee, or just kind of be an informant, and just say, hey, there's committees to hang signs around the community. The social committee, they put up the banners for the Easter egg hunt. Do little things like that, because also homeowners often say, what am I paying for? And so there's nothing coming back to me. So what am I paying for? So if you have a community that's financially stable, just start a social committee. Do these little things. Have ice cream socials for the kids. Community night out in August. Just those little things help with an HOA. And there's also a community. And I love to hear these neighbors say, "Oh yeah, we got together and we had a backyard barbecue." And it's also a sense of community as well.
Yeah.
So I live in an HOA, but I was fortunate enough to buy a home that's not a part of the HOA. I'm back here by myself. I can do whatever I want to on my property, but I live in a nice, neat community. And my children have met other kids in the community. I've met some of the other homeowners as well. So it's still beneficial to me, even though I don't have to pay those dues. I don't have access to the pool. I don't care, but it is very beneficial as well. So don't shy away from that. Do your research first.
Yeah. Well, and the community part is even good for safety as well. Because if you or someone, travel or you're not home, like you said, people are walking, they notice things.
Yeah.
And I know when we first moved in here, we hadn't gotten to know everyone because we don't have small kids. So you have to be intentional as adults to get to know your neighbors. Our alarm went off because Caleb didn't shut the door good. And we realized we don't know anybody's name. We don't have anybody's phone number to call them and tell them to go by the house. So like she said, you guys, community, get involved, take pride in your HOA, review that thing like a midterm exam, check CCR, and know what you're getting into. Ask about the budget, but don't shy away from an HOA if you feel like that HOA is for you.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, it's very beneficial. And we purchased our home in 2022. It was funny. I found 2 homes in a community that I used to manage. And I said, I wonder if Stephanie's still the board president. And she was still the board president. I said, I am not moving there, because she was, it was asked those questions. And also call the management company. If you know who the management company is, call the management company. They can't provide minute detail to you, but you can ask those questions, and just see what you can get. I would recommend as well, ride around the HOA. And I understand that you can't take months to do this when a home is on the market, but ride around the community. The community that I live in, I came morning and the afternoon and at night just to see how the community was as well. And I'm just like, okay, is this somewhere that I want to live? Because I do have small children and I want them to be safe. So, again, just do your research, ride around the community. Hey, stop. And, someone's outside, stop and talk to them. Not everybody's comfortable doing that, but it is beneficial because I've seen potential buyers do that. So that'll help is well.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you,
Absolutely.
Jackson. I appreciate it. Y'all, March 18th is coming up. But this woman, she knows her stuff. And I am so thankful for your help on the side as well.
Absolutely. If you need me, just to text me or call me, give me a name and I'll help you out.
I will. Y'all can't, but I can.
Yes.
All right. Have a great evening. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone, I'll be back next week with another topic. It's about thriving together. It is not just a goal, it's a lifestyle. Have an amazing evening.